Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you're all having a good day. I need to craft some new tools, especially since today the first thing we're going to do is go mining looking for diamonds. So I'm going to craft a fresh one of basically every tool we have. Then I'm going to grab the arrows we have in here, 3 string, and any feathers and flint I've been able to gather. Feathers will drop when a chicken is killed, and flint can often be found by mining gravel. So we're going to combine those with some sticks in our crafting interface to make a few more arrows, because if we're going caving, I would like to have a bow. The bow is crafted with 3 sticks and 3 string. Very simple recipe. We're going to put that here next to the kind of combat section in my hotbar. But bear in mind right now we have very limited ammunition, so we're going to try and use that sparingly. We're going to move our furnaces inside the house. We'll put those in this corner and we'll get them started on cooking up the food. I've crafted 1 extra iron pickaxe since we're going to be doing a lot of digging today. And with food in our hands and a fresh bucket of water, we're going to head back to that cave. And if we want more food and ammunition, we can maybe kill some chickens as we go. It's worth remembering that skeletons will also drop arrows sometimes, and that one even dropped a half-broken bow. In fact, that bow's got some decent durability left on it. To use a bow, you hold down the right-click button and draw the arrow back, then let it fly. Since our ammo is limited, I'm going to finish this zombie off with the sword, but bows can be a pretty powerful thing. Anyway, today we are setting our sights a little lower in the cave, because we are hoping to find diamonds, and diamonds can be most commonly found in the lower layers of the world. As usual, I'm going to be checking for other precious resources as I go, and covering my back by planting torches around so mobs cannot spawn behind me, but I'm not planning on picking up every vein of resources that I see because we need to travel a little deeper. Further down in these cave systems, you'll see the natural stone being replaced with this block here. This is deep slate, and that indicates that you're getting below the Y coordinate of 0 in the world and into the negative layers. This skeleton is making it kind of hard for me to jump down here safely, so I think what I'm going to do is mark on the wall with a couple of torches vertically, indicating that this is my exit. Then I'm going to jump into this water stream and be ready to attack anything that comes near me, or defend myself against a creeper by holding out my shield. Shields will block all of the damage from creeper explosions, at least for now. There are rumors that they're planning to change that in future, but for now at least we are safe. Anyway, this darker, gloomier environment is where we want to be headed, because the further down in the world we go, the higher the likelihood of us encountering diamonds. So if this cave has a couple of offshoots that go a little deeper, we will definitely be taking them. We can still mine the deep slate around us. In fact, I recommend doing it because deep slate is a very versatile building block. But bear in mind that as you get lower in the world, it is actually more likely for monsters to spawn. So we're going to be facing a lot of mobs down here. But the zombies have formed a conga line and are trying to get to me, so I'm going to try and take them out one at a time before I drop down here. There we go. Now we can take a look at the resources that are actually literally glowing underneath our feet. Right here we have some redstone ore, which is going to be very precious to us in the later stages of the game. In fact, quite early on we can find some good uses for redstone. We are going to be making slow progress in here with all of these monsters around, so make sure to light up the area as you go. We will definitely need some sort of marker that this is our exit, so once again I'm going to arrange some torches vertically so that we can see those. And as you travel through the cave, it might be worth placing some blocks that aren't part of the natural cave environment, with a torch on this side indicating the direction you should travel to return to your staircase. But this cavern is quite a large one and is going to have a lot of precious resources if we know where to look. There's already some more lapis ore, and you'll notice the different ore types mixing with the natural deep slate that's down here. Deep slate ores don't give you any more resources than the regular stone ores do, but some of them are more common. And in this corner we have actually lucked into something else that I wasn't expecting to find in this episode, but right here you can see that the deep slate changes to smooth basalt, this kind of slightly purpley, slightly smoother looking block, and behind that is the white of some calcite, and behind that as we dig through is some amethyst. We have found an amethyst geode. Being a little bit careful as I step into here because sometimes monsters can generate inside of these geodes, but you'll notice that there are blocks all around the walls which are studded with amethyst clusters, and these always grow on these special amethyst blocks with that kind of X shape on. You notice that a bud actually grew as we were looking at that one. These will grow through several stages, almost like the stages of crop growth, until they become one of these larger crystals. This one here and that one there are ready to harvest. When we break them with a pickaxe, we should get some amethyst shards. You can also collect the amethyst blocks that appear around here, but you cannot collect these ones with the X shape on them. Those are budding amethyst blocks, and they cannot be obtained. They will be destroyed destroyed if you try to mine them. But either way, we have a little sample of the resources here. We've got some amethyst and some amethyst shards, which can be crafted into more amethyst blocks, since that allows you to harvest amethyst renewably. Calcite is also a really nice block to build with, I have found, and we'll come back to revisit geodes in a future episode, because getting a decent supply of amethyst is going to be something really useful for the future. For now, it looks like this geode actually leads down into a narrower cave, which might be a safer environment to explore than that large open cavern. There are certainly fewer places that zombies and creepers and other mobs could sneak up on us unawares. It looks like we have some gold ore right here as well, and I should also warn you about stuff like this. If you see grey particles descending from the ceiling, that means a gravel block is suspended in the ceiling, and since gravel is affected by gravity, if you update that block, if you change a block next to it, that can actually cause the gravel to fall, and if you're standing underneath it when that happens, you can expect the gravel to fall on your head and you're in danger of suffocating in it, so you should be very careful if you see those particles dangling above you. Anyway, let's grab this gold ore. That will break down into some raw gold, which we'll be able to smelt into a gold ingot once we're back at home, and let's grab this redstone ore as well. There's a larger vein of that hiding in the wall behind it. As before, it is still our plan to get lower and lower into the world, and this massive hole right here seems to be a great way of doing that. However, we need to find a way to descend safely. We could cut a staircase into the side of the wall here, but that's going to take a fair bit of time, especially since the player mines deep slate a lot slower than you mine stone. So instead, opposite my torch over here, so I do not break the torch, I'm going to place a bucket of water, and that's going to allow me to descend slowly from the ceiling down towards the floor. I can even hold shift if I want to descend a little faster. Once we're down here, we'll place a torch on the wall, indicating that this is the water stream we need to ride upwards to return to our starting point. We'll also collect some of the redstone that got washed down here when we ended up making our descent. Now I'll briefly check my coordinates using the F3 screen, and here you can see we are at Y, -51. This is about as low as caves will naturally generate in the world. You can see lava pouring out of the side here, and it's even possible for lava lakes to generate in some of these lower regions of the world. But this is also the area where we are most likely to find redstone ore and diamond ore, so we're going to do a bit of mining around here in the hopes of finding our first diamonds. This lava source pouring out of the wall here is actually something we can collect in our bucket if we want to. We can grab a bucket of lava, we get the advancement hot stuff for that one. While lava is actually really useful for lighting up its surroundings, we're just going to replace that with a torch and let the lava flow away into nothing. We can always get another bucket of water if we need it. It's also worth noting that down here in the lowest levels of the world, coal does not generate at all. And that means unless you brought a lot of supplies with you, you are going to be running out of torches at some point while you're down here. So it's usually best to maybe bring a stack of logs that you can turn into charcoal at short notice, or just mine a lot of coal before you take your first trip down here to the deep slate levels. Well, there is abundant redstone around here, but so far we have not found any diamond ore, and that's not entirely a surprise. Diamond ore has a lower chance of generating exposed to the air, so oftentimes you're going to have to mine into the walls of the caves around you in order to find a significant quantity of it. With that said, I think we have got lucky here and stumbled into a huge vein of iron. If you notice the deep slate iron ore blocks here mixing in with this substance here called tuff, then you have probably run into a huge iron ore vein, and you'll find that these are packed with iron ore if you want to gather large quantities of it manually. Later we'll be looking at other methods of gathering iron, some slightly more automatic ones for example. But for now, we're just going to enjoy these skeletons all fighting each other. In fact, one of those skeletons actually just dropped an enchanted bow, which will be our first enchanted item of this series. So I'm going to grab that, make sure these two are fighting each other so I'm safe, and we can open my inventory and take a look at that. That is a bow with the Power 1 enchantment, which deals a little bit of extra damage with every arrow you fire. I think the skeletons have thinned themselves out enough now that I can step in, and we might end up using that bow for a little while since it's going to deal some extra damage. Oh, and that's why there are so many skeletons around here. We found ourselves a monster spawner. Well, that's a very good and very bad piece of news for me, because this thing will keep spawning skeletons until we get a little further away from it. So I'm going to have to back off a little bit, and there we go. Unfortunately, we died on our first caving expedition. And of course I slept somewhere else, so my bed is miles away. We now have a very difficult decision on our hands, because if the area around our items stays loaded with the chunks that we load around us in the world, those items could despawn before we manage to make it back to them, and all of our hard work and progress could be lost. I think with the level of experience I have, we can make it back to that area quite quickly. So we're going to hop down into this cave, and I'm going to follow my instincts and any torches I place to try and make it back to that area and collect all of my items. Thankfully, I've placed enough torches in these directions, and I left my bucket of water up here so that I can make a safe descent into this cave, and from here I believe we are not too far away from that skeleton spawner. Of course, this is quite risky because I don't have any other equipment on me and I don't have any food even, so if I were to run out of the ability to sprint... Okay, thankfully we made it back and I've collected all of my items up again. I get a little bit of experience back, but most of the levels have been lost. I can quickly gear up again, replacing all of the items here on my hotbar, and I should definitely make a few torches because we will need to light up that spawner to disable it. Honestly, for our first death, that could have gone a lot worse. Now, the spawner is around here. We're going to place a torch in the entrance, and we're going to back off for a second, just to make sure I can eat something before the skeletons come at me again. And then once I'm confident I can take them on, we're going to wade in and deal with this. There's only a couple of skeletons in here now, since monsters will despawn if you're over 128 blocks away from them, so I think most of the skeletons that were in here despawned. And this spawner cage here is something actually fairly precious to us right now. Much like the budding amethyst blocks in the geodes, you cannot move these, you can only destroy them. They will drop some experience when they are destroyed, but that's the only thing you will get, whereas if we leave this as an active spawner, we can convert this into something that will churn out skeletons, making it easy for us to kill them to earn more experience and even gather some bones. We can effectively farm this spawner. For now, lighting up the area around a spawner will prevent skeletons from spawning anymore, so we can safely take the coordinates of this and we will return to it later in the series. For now, we can take a look in the loot chests, and this is our reward. We have a bunch of redstone here. There are some more bones, a couple of mob drops. I'll even take the string right now because we don't have too much of that. There are 2 music discs in here, Cat and 13, which we'll be able to play if we have a jukebox. I'm going to leave the rotten flesh I've already gathered in here in exchange for these gold ingots. And it looks like the other chest has a bunch more string, some melon seeds, and a little bread. So I'll take the food with me. I'll take these bones as well. We have a duplicate music disc, which I will leave here for now. Despite the death, that was a very lucky find, so I'm very glad we've got that, and the spawner should now be safe for us to move on with just one torch lighting it up from the top there. And as we continue down here, we get a chance to go even lower in the world. We found ourselves at a dead end, but right now we're at Y-49. I think this seems like a good time to try out a branch mining strategy. We're going to dig down in a staircase until we reach the bedrock of the world. And there we go, that is our first glimpse of bedrock. This block cannot be mined. It effectively forms the floor at the bottom of the world, making sure you do not fall out of the bottom of the world into the void. Once we found our first block of that, we're going to place a couple of blocks above that, and this is the layer we will probably start to mine at, unless we find any more bedrock blocking our path. Everything looks good to me so far. We are digging at Y-58, which is effectively the lowest coordinate of the world that you could mine in a straight line. Incidentally, it is probably the best position to be in when mining for diamonds, since the lower layers of the world have a higher chance of generating diamond ore. So we're going to do our branch mining strategy that I explained in the previous episode. We're just going to mine in a straight line and dig tunnels out to either side, hopefully finding some diamonds as we go. It's important to stay aware of your surroundings though, and I've just noticed the sound of lava around us here. You also find that pops up in the subtitles, which is one of the reasons I choose to play with subtitles when I'm recording these videos. The subtitles will indicate with arrows the direction that the noise is coming from, and in this case it warns us not to dig too far to the right because there will be lava somewhere over there, and that could potentially flood into the tunnel we're creating. So as our branch mine continues, we're going to be a little wary about digging to my immediate right, and instead I think we can start some of our branch tunnels over here to the left, away from the lava noises. It's been a long tunnel so far, and our first patch of rare resources is not diamond, but redstone. I'm going to gather it anyway, because we will need plenty of that in our future, and at this point I'm more concerned about collecting these resources than I am with the monster drops, so we're going to leave the spider eye and the gunpowder here. We'll just throw them out of arm's reach so we don't accidentally pick them up again, and we'll continue mining. Well, our first pickaxe has just expended itself. We are probably going to need another one at some stage because we're doing a lot of mining down here. But since we haven't found any diamonds in this long tunnel so far, I think it's probably time to start mining a few poke holes in the wall over here to our left. One strategy you can employ to make sure you're getting the most out of your tunnels is to leave a 2-block gap and start digging through here. Because you can see these blocks on this side and you can see the neighboring blocks on this side, you stand a pretty high chance of uncovering a diamond vein if it's generated in this area. Everybody has their own preferred ways of branch mining though, so choose whichever one suits you best. And finally, after mining a whole lot of tunnels and almost wearing this pickaxe down to a stub, we have 22 durability left on it, but we have finally struck diamond ore, and hopefully there are a few more diamond ore blocks hidden in the walls around here. Yep, we've got a pretty tidy little vein of them, it looks like. The lava sounds are right behind me, so I'm a little bit wary about digging these up, but we're going to break our first diamonds. We're going to chuck something out of our inventory so we can collect them, and there we go. The advancement has been made. And it looks like this might even be a vein of 8 diamonds, which is usually the most you can expect to find in a row, but the bedrock has blocked us, unfortunately. There might only be 7 here. As with any ore vein, it is worth checking around on the diagonals just in case another block has generated on one of the corners, but it looks like, tragically, no, that is all we're going to get. Still, 7 diamonds is really quite good, because we can craft a crafting table while we're down here, salvage that stick, and make a couple of others so that we can craft our first diamond tools. We are, of course, going to start out with a diamond pickaxe. That's going to replace that iron pickaxe we can chuck out of our inventory, and it's also worth noting that some of the resources we have here could be compacted down into full blocks, allowing us to conserve a bit of inventory space. Unfortunately, we are 8 redstone dust shy of making another block, so it's not going to be quite as compact as all that. But having found our first diamonds, enough to make a diamond pickaxe and a couple extra, we're actually going to leave the cave now, because if we start enchanting our equipment, we could end up with the Fortune enchantment, which will allow us to get even more diamonds out of a block of diamond ore. So even though it's exciting being down here and we can rush around trying to find more resources, I think this has been a very successful caving trip. We have found our first monster spawner, we have found our first diamonds, we've managed to craft a diamond pickaxe, and we can head out of the cave. We've had a brush with death but managed to recover, and I don't feel like pushing my luck right now. I think it's probably time to leave this cave, and in the process we can demonstrate how it's possible to retrace our steps. You can already see that I've tracked my trail of torches back here to the waterfall, where these 2 torches point me upwards. As before, we're following the torches on the right hand side, finding the right way back. We can hop out into the geode, and then it should just be a short trip across the cave from here back to that staircase, which once again I've noticed the torches indicating that I should head upwards. We can ride the waterfall up next to those torches back into the stone layers. This waterfall will actually lead us right back into the floor of the first cave we explored, and it looks like it's nighttime outside, so I'm going to pick a nice lit up area to place my bed. We're going to sleep temporarily, and then we're going to head back home to the safety of our brand new house. Home sweet home. I'm going to set my spawn point at this bed and try not to change it again. Despite the death though, I think we did pretty well, and I'm going to start making some more chests because we need room to store all these valuables. I'm going to set up a bit of temporary storage here by the door. We'll probably move all of our supplies into the basement later, but for now it's just going to be good to unpack what we've got in our inventory. So we came back from that trip with a variety of colourful materials. We have a diamond pickaxe now, and we're going to save the rest of the diamonds. We should at least be saving 2 of them, since 2 are required to craft an enchanting table. So if you wanted to, these other 2 diamonds could be made into a diamond sword, which would have slightly better attack damage and a lot more durability. We also got some redstone, which you can think of as like electrical wire in Minecraft. Redstone is used in crafting a lot of mechanical components and stuff that we will need to make automatic farms in the future. Gold can be used to make tools, but the tools are notoriously very bad. Gold is supposed to be a soft material in real life and not very good for making tools with, so gold tools are more of a joke, but gold has a lot of other uses we'll get into later. Amethyst is mostly a decorative block, but is used in a couple of important crafting recipes. You can make tinted glass, you can make a spyglass with it to allow you to see things far off. Lapis, as we've covered in previous episodes, is used for blue dye and enchanting. A skeleton spawner is also a really important find, because we can potentially turn that into a farm for experience, which is good because I lost a bit of it whilst I was getting killed by them. And since we already have a few rare resources down here in the basement, I might bring up the copper and the iron and make sure all of that goes in this same chest. Now, I know I said we were going to stop there. I know I said we are probably done mining diamonds for the day, especially since we have the opportunity to get way more of them if we're able to enchant our pickaxes and get the fortune enchantment. But there's a couple of other things I would like to cover so we're going to go looking for diamonds anyway. So back to the cave we go, and this time I'm going to gather enough coal that I can make some more torches while I'm down there. I can also show you one of the reasons getting diamond tools is such a big deal, why diamonds are so sought after in Minecraft worlds, and that is because the difference in durability is kind of staggering. Our iron tools all have 250 durability. Our diamond tools now have 1500, 6 times the amount of durability of an iron tool. Diamond pickaxes also unlock the last few blocks that it wasn't possible for us to mine with just iron tools. We can now acquire obsidian, crying obsidian, and even ancient debris. It's possible to go mining for a lot longer when you have tools that last 6 times as long. And as such, diamond tools are probably one of the first sets of tools that are worth repairing, and we'll talk about repairing tools in a future episode as well. Remember what I said earlier about being aware of noises in your surroundings? It sounds like there are a lot of zombies down here somewhere, so I'm going to dig towards that noise carefully, because anytime you hear 3 or 4 zombies in one place, there's always the possibility that there might be a mob spawner there. In this case, it looks like it was just a group of zombies already spawned in a cave, but yeah, it was worth a try. So here are a couple of reasons that it's worth going caving now before we have the fortune enchantment on our pickaxe. Number 1, we don't actually have to mine anything. Sometimes it's just worth it to explore, to get the lay of the land, and even see if there are any underground biomes somewhere in these caves. Number 2, because some of the ores will get you experience. Any of the crystalline ores, the ones that don't just drop raw iron or gold, so anything that drops lapis or redstone or diamonds, will give you experience for mining them, whereas gold, iron, and copper will give you the experience from a furnace when you smelt them into usable ingots. And in order to enchant our tools, we actually need to build up the experience levels that you see in the green number above my hotbar. So we will actually need to get 30 levels before we can apply that fortune enchantment to our pickaxe anyway. At least if we do that the traditional way using an enchantment table. There are other ways, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Another reason is, of course, to find things like the skeleton spawner that we found. Caves can have these occasional useful structures in them which are not necessarily to do with gathering rare resources. But one of the other reasons to continue caving is that finding diamonds by strip mining, I don't know, guys. I find it kind of boring, whereas rushing through caves and diving through waterlogged areas in search of diamonds, that feels a lot more like adventure to me. That feels a lot more like an expedition. And there you go, I've spotted some diamonds down there past this group of zombies and creepers, so I'm gonna have to deal with all of them before we can mine the diamonds, but hey, we found some more diamond ore on the surface this time. You see, just because doing the strip mining thing is a reliable way of finding diamonds eventually doesn't make it especially fun. And it looks like we've only found a small vein of diamond here. The larger veins will typically generate without all of the blocks exposed to the open air, but one diamond can lead to a bunch more. And like I said, we don't have to mine them yet. I can hit F3, bring up the coordinates, and save those in whatever way feels appropriate. I like to take screenshots, but you could always write the coordinates down in a book and keep a logbook of the diamonds you found, and then once we have access to that fortune enchantment, we can come back through here and mine even more diamonds than we would have got on our first caving expedition. There's another little patch over here by this pillar, and once again I am besieged by skeletons. Fight each other, there we go. If you get one of them to shoot the other one, it becomes a lot easier. You can wait for one to finish the other off, then go in for the kill, and inevitably another skeleton gets involved. Well, if we light this area up a little bit better, we can start to dig around these diamonds as well, and I prefer to stay a couple of blocks away from them as I mine, just in case a creeper sneaks up on me. Don't want them blowing up the diamond ore as well. And that's another single block of diamond ore, but worth saving the coordinates. And since we are still fairly high up in the deep slate layers, it is certainly less likely that we're going to run into large deposits of diamonds. But as I mentioned earlier, we get to spot other exciting things, like this seems to be another offshoot of that huge iron ore vein that I was talking about, and there is even a full block of raw iron here in the floor. As you gather raw iron, you can actually turn it into full blocks in a 3x3 crafting grid so that you can conserve space in your inventory, kind of like what we did with the redstone dust earlier. But we just found a full block of raw iron sitting in the floor of a cave, which means we can break that down into more iron ingots. That won't be affected by fortune, unlike the other ore blocks around it, so that is worth us mining and taking home. And this is another example of a time when we can save the coordinates and come back to this location in future. But this cave seems to go on for miles, and I'm looking for a couple of other little offshoots that lead downwards so that we can potentially find more diamonds in those. Once again, making sure we mark any areas we drop down with a couple of torches leading vertically so we can get back up. Oh, down there I'm seeing one of those lava lakes I was talking about earlier. That is a little bit risky potentially, but could also lead to some more diamonds since that is going to generate fairly low down in the world. Unfortunately, we don't have a water bucket on us, so we're not able to pour it over the lava and turn it into something slightly safer to walk on. So I'm going to leave that for now, but that will potentially be something to explore in future. My shield is also getting a little bit low, so this seems like a good point to remind people that you can actually make furnaces out of deep slate, or cobbled deep slate at least. You don't need to have cobblestone on you in order to make a furnace. So I can actually smelt some of the iron that I've got here. We're only going to smelt 1 or 2, so I'll pop a couple of planks in there. And once we have a single ingot there, we can turn that into a fresh new shield. We'll swap that in for now so that our old shield doesn't break on us mid-fight, and we can always combine the two of them to get a little bit of durability back. There's a tad more redstone here, and I think we are close to getting back the amount of levels I lost to that skeleton fight earlier. I am down to my last few torches though, so we're probably going to wrap this caving trip up really soon, but I might just take a quick trip down to the cave where we saw the skeleton spawner and see if there's any other offshoots of that I have missed. Man, this place really goes on for miles. It's one of those places that feels like a cave system instead of just a cave, you know? But that looks like I've expended all my torches, so it's probably time to retrace our steps and head back to the house. And one last thing while we're down here, if you see any patches of light on the ceiling or the walls like this, don't be fooled by the fact that this is a slightly bluish substance there. That is actually glow lichen, which we can harvest using a pair of shears, which I might as well make now since I've got the iron on me. Glow lichen is an organic block, kind of similar to vines, I guess. You can shear them, and they produce a very small amount of light, which can sometimes be a really useful thing in caves because it prevents monsters from spawning around it, but is also notorious for tricking people into thinking there are diamonds there, since it has that kind of bluish hue and a glow that I think most people project onto diamond ore at this point. Anyway, we've made it back to the mouth of our cave, and it looks like the sky is brightening into daytime outside, so let's head on back to the house and we can wrap up today's episode. I love returning to our cozy little moss-roofed starter house now. It feels really good to have something proper set up here in front of the mountain and everything. But folks, thank you so much for joining me on that little caving trip, and yes, the death was unfortunate, but also a good opportunity for a lesson. I hope you guys enjoyed coming along with me caving. Good luck out there finding some diamonds of your own. That's it from me. My name has been Pixlriffs. Thank you so much for watching the Minecraft Survival Guide. Don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you folks soon. Take care. Bye for now.